Good morning, friends. It's Heather at Bush Poppy Farm. How are you today? It is Saturday, and we have finally, after 2.5 days of very high winds, a lovely, still, and warm day. So we have a special video today. It is a beekeeping video. We are going to be splitting my hive in the hopes of avoiding a swarm and also to increase my colony size by giving myself a second hive. So stay tuned for that. So, like I said, it's been 2.5 days of really high winds. Here at home, we only topped out at about 25-mile-an-hour gusts, but out at the farm, it was a lot worse than that. So yesterday, I didn't really get anything done. Unfortunately, my seasonal allergies got the best of me, and I spent the day inside feeling kind of crappy. But I'm back out today, even though my nose is running, so I apologize for that. I wanted to say what you saw in the title sequence. Every year we have house finches build nests in our eaves on the east side of our house. So it's fairly sheltered. They get morning sun, and that's about it. And the eaves are the perfect size for them to build their nests. There are little alcoves in those eaves, so it's not just one long eave. There's, wooden separations. And so we get multiple families of finches. They actually don't do any damage to the wood. As they're raising their young, it gets a little poopy up there, but for some reason it doesn't cover the ground underneath, that we have flagstone underneath. They don't make a mess. So that's one of the reasons we've been okay with them doing this. Also, it's really fun to be able to look out your office window or your bedroom window in my kids' cases and watch the parents come in and feed the babies once the eggs hatch. It's a really fun springtime thing. And so this morning, we noticed they had just started, and I watched them early this morning, picking up all the moss and little tiny sticks in the yard, which we haven't cleaned up yet. Another good reason to wait. And they're using them to build their nests. So as time goes on, I'll show you guys. Once they lay the eggs, I'll try to get a good shot in there so you can see what they look like. They're little blue. They almost look like robin's eggs, but they're really tiny because they're not robins. These are very small birds. They're only about this big. But it's really fun to watch, and they are so loud. Once the babies hatch, they're totally silent when the parents are gone. But as soon as the parents come back, and those parents work so hard, they feed them all day long. They must make 100 trips out to find food for their babies. But as soon as the parents fly back, the babies open up their mouths and scream. So it's so loud if you're trying to sleep in on a weekend. Anyway, let me get my bee suit on, and I'll tell you what we're going to do today about this splitting the hive. So in nature, I know you can't really see me very well. Hopefully you can hear me. I tried to put the thing outside. A hive that has overwintered will start populating quickly when the temperature warms. And they'll get to a point where there's so many bees in the hive that they swarm, they split. So the queen will take half the colony with her, and they'll go somewhere else to set up a new colony. And so to prepare for that, what they do is the workers create what's called queen cells, where they grow a virgin queen. And so when you start seeing your hive setting up queen cells, you know that they're getting ready to swarm. And if your hives are out far away from populated area, it's not really a big deal if you want to let them swarm, at least in my opinion. But where I live, in a neighborhood with people who may not be very comfortable with bees, it's a good thing to not let them swarm, because then you have to catch the swarm. People freak out. It's a thing, right? So in order to avoid that, or try to avoid that, this is not a surefire way, but basically you want to reduce the population. So we do what's called splitting a hive. And there's a couple ways to do this. I have literally never done this before. I just took an online class. My bee mentor has been helping me. So I'm an absolute newbie at this. This is the very first year that I've been able to overwinter a hive. So I had the first year out at the farm, I had 2 hives and both of them died over the winter. I think because they swarmed so many times that they just didn't have the population, because they swarmed so many times and then we hit the dearth, which is like kind of middle of the year where there's just not much for them to eat. And being a new beekeeper, it's pretty normal for that to happen, but it still sucked. So this year, or last year, we set up 2 new hives here at home. And one of them did great. The other one, I mean, they both swarmed multiple times, which is not great. But one of them, the smaller colony, just didn't survive. They went queenless. Basically, they lost their queen somehow in the early fall, late summer, early fall. And then even though we caught a swarm and put that swarm with a queen back in there, it just didn't survive. So that is a completely empty hive right now, which is good because it's right next to my full, very healthy hive, or at least they were 2 weeks ago when I checked them. And I'm going to use the old empty hive as what's called a nuke box to set up the new one. So I need to get my smoker going. Basically what we're going to be doing is taking brood frames, capped brood, but also uncapped brood, so just eggs, and maybe larvae, and putting them plus at least 1 frame of honey and a whole bunch of bees we're going to shake into this new box. And then what they'll do is they will create their own queen. So by creating queen cells, and then a new virgin queen will hatch out, and then she'll take a mating flight, and hopefully she will mate. Most likely she will, but there's a chance that she won't. And so there's a bunch of steps after I create this nuke that I need it's got literal by days that I need to go in there and check and look for certain things to make sure we either accidentally got the queen that was part of the main hive. I'm not going to spend time searching for the queen today. I'm still very new at that and not very good at it. So what was recommended to me by my instructor was just create, the nuke, because you're putting in lots of bees and capped brood and eggs. And then in a week's time, I go in there and check. And if I find more eggs, more capped brood, then that means there is a queen in there. And that means my other hive doesn't have a queen. In either case, that's okay, because what's going to happen is whoever doesn't have the queen, they're going to make queen cells and they're going to make their own new queen. Now, once that happens, I still need to keep checking, but there's certain days that I'm not allowed to open the hive because she'll be off on her maiden flight to go mate. And if you open the hive, it actually may cause a problem with her coming back and getting into the hive. And so I don't want to mess that up. So basically it's going to be over the next 6 to 12 weeks, checking at specific intervals for more eggs, more capped brood, or queen cells, etc. And at some point, we'll be pretty sure that we're good to go. And then as that new nuke grows, I will add boxes on top of that, and then it'll just be a second colony. So all that being said, I'm a little anxious and a little intimidated by this, but I'm also super excited. I've never done this before. And when I say anxious, I'm not afraid of the bees. I've been stung a few times in the last couple of weeks, and I'm okay with that. I know I don't have a bee allergy, and I know they don't want to sting me. These bees, up to this point, have been extremely calm and relaxed. So I'm hoping that that will be the case today. I'm not anxious about being stung. I'm more anxious that, I don't know, I'll do something wrong. And I just don't want to do that. However, I am a newbie, and I know that there's a high chance of that. So I'm just going to follow the instructions, and we'll see what happens. So I will set you guys up. I don't know how much talking I'll do. I'll try to bring some frames to you. It is a warm day. I've been waiting for this. It's a warm day, which is important. I think we are at 64 degrees Fahrenheit right now. The brood has to be kept warm. And so one of the reasons I didn't want to do it yesterday is, first of all, it's hard to work bees in high winds. But secondly, it could super cool the brood, and that brood might die, right? So you just don't want to do that. Okay, I know what I'm supposed to do. Let me get you guys set up. Let me get my smoker going. My instructor told me she doesn't ever use smoke when she does this, because when you smoke a hive, the queen will go all the way down. She wants to get away from light and the smoke. And so, you know, she's like, you don't really want to mess with them that much. I think I'll set up the smoker only to use to like clean off the tops of the boxes when I want to put a box back on so I don't crush any bees. But otherwise, I think I'll just leave the smoker to the side. All right, let me get that set up, and then we can head out and see what we can do. Okay, the key here is for me to go slow, not rush. This is the dead hive, so I'm going to take the cover off, put it there, and I'm going to get it all set so that I don't have to feel rushed. Hive tool here. The nice thing is that this hive, got 2 deep boxes here too, so that's great. I'll start with a deep box. But the nice thing is it already has drawn comb in it, which is great because that means the bees don't have to work that hard. They can focus on getting the queen ready to lay. So I'm going to take some of these frames out. We're going to put, this is an 8-frame hive. The other hive is a 10-frame hive. So what I'm going to do is take some of these out. We're going to put 5 in total in here. Okay, so that is an empty frame that has drawn comb. The other nice thing about that is I can replace the ones I take out with drawn comb in the new hive, in the old hive. Oh, but this one, that one has some mold on it. Really important not to put that back in. I can let that sit in the sun and it will pretty much take care of itself. Yeah, some of these have mold or wax moth, which is bad news. So I will not be using those as replacement frames. This one looks good. Nice drawn comb, freshly drawn comb. Okay, so that's one that we can use. This one is undrawn completely. And that's okay too. But if you give them a little frame that's already drawn, then it makes it a little bit easier for them. Okay, so that one looks good too. All right, so what I'm going to do is then, since this is 8 frames, we'll put one drawn comb frame on either side. We want the brood in the middle. The words I heard were brood and food, right? So we're going to want 1 frame of honey and 4 frames of brood. So what I'm going to do then is take this bottom box off. We don't need it now. Now, they will come in and get rid of the dead bees, but I'll do that for them. Again, with a brand new colony, basically you're setting up a brand new colony, you want them to be able to just work on the basics and not have to do a whole ton of extra work. Like, it's going to be hard for them to defend the colony, and so you don't want to make it even harder on them. All right, so we're going to put this box here. This is going to be the new nuke. Now, it's important to note, so I'm going to shake probably 4 frames worth of bees from the old hive into the new one. However, a lot of those bees that I shake in are going to be foragers and they'll return to the original hive. That's okay, because as the new hive grows, they will develop their own foragers and they'll orient to that hive. All right, so I'm not going to mess with this top box. This is a honey super. I do not have a queen excluder on here, so there will also potentially be some brood in here, but I'm not too worried about that. It is very heavy. I'm going to set this off to the side. So this hive is 3 boxes tall. Okay, this is going to be really heavy. It's very full of honey. Oh my goodness. I'm setting it down on top of the upturned top of the box. Okay, so this bottom box is not going to be full of a whole lot. There might be some bees down there, but for the most part, the new brood is here in this middle box. And I'm looking right now, I see, so what you see here, this is drone brood, those larvae there. Drones are unfertilized eggs. They are male, always male. The rest of these bees are female. Drones are huge. Those are the ones that the queen mates with. So we don't need those. She's going to find plenty of her own. Okay, hopefully you can see what's going on here. So I'm going to move this feeder. So in this top box here, I have a feeder, which currently doesn't have anything in it. I'm going to move that to the side, and then I'm going to push these frames apart and start taking them out and looking for capped and uncapped brood. I'm going to be real careful. I don't want to accidentally roll my queen, kill her. Oh boy, it's really hard to get these out. They're very heavy. I think they're full of honey. You know, I see beekeepers, experienced beekeepers, using no gloves. I don't know how they do it. You can see all those that extra comb that they built. I do not see any, oh no, I do not. So there's no queen cells on the bottom of this. That's very good. I don't see any brood, and this is all capped honey. Okay, so that would be a feeder one, which maybe I'll just use that as feeder for them. Yeah, they are definitely feeling unhappy right now. Okay, this one feels like another very full honey one. It's very heavy. Oh no, not nearly as heavy. Okay, so this one has more comb on it again, but I don't see any brood. I mean, I see some capped brood, but not what I should be seeing. So let's go further in. This is also one of the more outside frames, so that's not super surprising. Yeah, I can't imagine doing this with, I mean, it definitely would be easier to do this with my bare hands, but on this frame, I don't know if you can see that, there's a lot of capped drone brood. So the capped brood, when it's fertilized eggs, is flat. This drone brood is raised. I don't see any queen cells, so that's good. So I see pollen in there, some capped brood, but I don't see any larvae, although I do see one that's hatching out right now. I don't know if I'll be able to show this. I'll try to circle it. Yeah, so I do see some capped brood, but I don't see any eggs. You can see that's a brood pattern there on the outside, around the edges. That's capped brood. So I actually am going to put this one in here. All right, yeah, this top box I think is mostly honey. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to give them more frames, a drawn out comb up here, and we'll look for brood in the bottom. It's full of them. Okay. All right, so more drone brood, and I'm hoping that I'll find some capped and uncapped brood in here. I think I'm going to clean off all this on the top here. Okay, so now I'm going to have to be very careful in here because I'm assuming this is where the queen is. I'm going to take out this outside edge frame first. Okay, this one is loaded with capped brood. All right, so I'm going to put it in the nuke. Can you see how much capped brood that is? Put that in here. God, I just can't tell. I don't think I see any eggs. I do see royal jelly though. So I'm going to assume that means we're in a good position. I would like to see eggs. Really would like to see eggs. You can see that white stuff. Okay, that's actually not, they're not coming out, they're being capped over, but they're kind of big, so I think those are drone cells. Okay, so I'm going to put the old hive back together. To do that, since the smoker isn't working right now, I'm going to have to brush them off. I end up squishing a whole lot of bees, which I really didn't want to do. All right, next one. Bet I got enough. I think I didn't do the split well. Okay, I'm gonna shake. I have a bee sting inside my arm right now. Doesn't feel very good. I need to shake bees into this new hive. Yep, all honey. I'm shaking a lot of them because some of these are going to be foragers and they won't come back. And you want the population of the new hive to be as high as possible. Now this top box, literally all honey. Ouch! Got stung again. All right, now I need to get 2 more frames for this. All right, 2 more frames for this one. And they're empty frames, so I'm gonna put them on the outside. Okay, so my stupid camera keeps overheating and it was in direct sun. So I don't know how much of that you guys saw at this point. But I got stung twice. Once there and once there. And if you can tell by the location, I only got stung because a bee got in, outside the suit. But, I pushed my arm against my body and they got me through the suit, which is unusual because if you could see, I was surrounded by bees and they were landing all over me and I'm sure trying to sting, but it was only twice. So not a big deal. I'm in the backyard because they're still very angry up there. And I tried to take off my suit in the garage. They weren't having it. So I thought it would be better to come out here, let them settle down a bit. I don't know how successful that was. I'm actually a little anxious because I didn't see any eggs. And I did see a lot of capped brood. And I did see some larvae that was being capped. So, that indicates to me that there is a queen in there. In the main hive, and I don't know, she might have ended up in the nuke. Again, I wasn't looking for her because I'm not very good at that. And either way, either the nuke or the old hive will have to make a new queen. So, and they know how to do that. I did not see any queen cells, so I'm not too late doing this, but I might be too early. So yeah, we'll just see. In any case, what I've done is decrease the population. I'm back in the house. I actually filmed a lot more on the end of that last clip, but apparently I somehow dropped the phone and turned off the filming. But I'm back in the house because bees were finding me and trying to come near my face, and I'm a little less excited about them being around my face. I did get stung 3 times actually, but it's not a big deal. I just noticed it. Anyway, at the risk of repeating what I've already said, mistakes I made. 1, I should have opened the old hive yesterday or the day before and checked to see what the frames looked like. I just assumed that they would all be great, drawn out comb and everything. But then when I got in there today, there were frames that all of them had drawn out comb, which is awesome. That's less work for the bees to do. But some of them had mold on them, like a green mold. So not wax moth, which is not something you want in your beehive. So I scraped off. So the problem was, because that happened, I didn't prepare and bring additional frames out with me. So next time I will bring additional frames out just in case the ones that I'm expecting to be good aren't good, or investigate that first, a day before or so. So I had to go back to the garage to get additional frames, and I made a huge mess in there because I was hurrying. That's the other mistake. So I started to hurry. I started to get anxious, not scared, not like that, but more like I need to wrap this up because the bees are really unhappy. And my smoker had gone out because I didn't fill it enough. And so there was no way to calm them down. And when I had to put the boxes back on top, the super and the deep boxes back on top of each other, I had no smoke to clear them away. So I ended up crushing bees. When you crush a bee, they release a pheromone, and that signals everybody to come out and attack. So you really don't want to do that. So I made a number of mistakes. I am still concerned that I didn't see any eggs. I did see larvae in the process of being capped. Some of those, though, I think were drones. So I don't know what the queen situation is. So that means in a week, I need to go in both hives and do like a really good investigation and see what's going on. Next week, I should see eggs in one of those hives. If I see no eggs in either hive, there's no queen in either hive. Now, they will make queens, and it's possible.
It's possible that the main hive, for some reason, doesn't have a queen. I doubt it because, like I said, I saw some larvae being capped, drone larvae. So somebody's in there laying the queen. But most of what I saw was capped brood, and I expect to see eggs at this point. So I'm going to talk to my mentor about that and see what he thinks. And so when I investigate the nuke, if I don't see eggs, that's fine. If I don't see eggs, I should see queen cells, meaning they are forming their own queen. So we'll see how that goes. I do have tons of honey in there in the old hive, a lot of honey. So there'll be a good honey harvest this year. I'm looking forward to that. But I need to get much better at inspecting and knowing what to expect. I'm a brand new beekeeper. This is the first year. Well, this is my second year beekeeping, but this is the first year that I've overwintered a hive successfully. So, I know I'm going to make mistakes. And like I said, I can, at a minimum, I reduce the population, and that will make them less likely to swarm. I did not give them a new box, the old hive. I did not give them a new box yet because there was still 1 or 2 frames that wasn't drawn out. But the majority of the frames that on the top, it was all honey. That entire super up top was all honey. There was no capped brood. So, yeah. So we'll see what happens. I can always go in and do another split in a month if it seems like I need to. I would like to avoid swarms altogether. Last year, we had 5 swarms. I don't know which of the 2 hives. I think it was probably both of them swarmed a few times. We did catch one successfully across the street on across the driveway, and set that up in a nuke out at the old fish ranch farm. That's the one we used to repopulate the brown hive when it became queenless, but it didn't take. So anyway, yeah, so I think I'm going to treat these bee stings with some sting cream just because they hurt a little bit. But once they calm down out there, because right now going out there to work is not a good idea. I was going to do some work even in the backyard here on the green stalks, and they came and found me out there. So, which is about, 200 feet from the hives. So I'm going to give them a couple hours to settle, to calm down. The foragers, that hive, by the way, because it was midday, it wasn't full. Most of all the foragers are pretty much gone out looking for food. So you can see how full that hive is. So that's why we shook a whole bunch of bees into the new one. All the bees that are not foragers will stay in there. The foragers will come back to the old hive because that's the one they're oriented to. So, and then over the next week or so, I should start to see some orienting flights out of that brown hive, which it looks like figure 8s in the sky. That's them getting their internal GPS all good to go so they know exactly how to get back to their hive. So that should start happening, but there's a lot of capped brood. So, I mean, that's good. It's just that as the bees hatch out, they're all kind of be the same age, and you don't really want that. You want a range of ages in bees so that you can continue that life cycle, because bees have a very short lifespan, and they go from being, eggs, larvae, they hatch out, and then they have jobs. Their last job in life is being a forager. And generally when they get too old, again, their pheromones and stuff, the hive can tell, and the hive will literally not allow them back in. Sometimes they do, and that's how you end up with dead bees. And there's also mortuary bees that clear out the dead bees of hives. But they'll go off to die alone. So a lot of times if you see a lot of bees dead on the ground, hopefully it's not because of pesticides or insecticides, but it's from just old age, and they die outside the hive usually. So, okay. I just threw a lot of information at you. So totally different content today than usual. But back to gardening content tomorrow. Like I said, I'm going to try to get out there this afternoon and get work done, but it just depends on how angry they still are. What I was going to say earlier is they got more aggressive. Obviously, I was taking all of their resources, and that's, obviously they would be aggressive. But sometimes bees that turn aggressive that have never been aggressive before can also be because they don't have a queen. But again, even though I didn't see any eggs, there probably were some in there. I'm still getting used to looking. And I did see some larvae being capped. So fingers crossed. So we'll see what happens. All right. Thanks so much for hanging out with me today, you guys. Comment below if it's okay to put more of this type of content up. I know it's different, but it is part of like what I do in learning how to do some homesteady things in an urban environment. And, it can be scary to start these kind of new things, but it's all a learning experience, and I never want to stop learning. So anybody who's beekeeper out there and you saw what I did and you want to tell me, give me some advice, I'm open to that too. I'm always willing to listen to advice when it's kindly given. Always, always, always. And I will also always try things that people suggest, because I think that's how we learn from each other. And I love that about our community. Okay, thanks again for hanging out with me. Hope you have a wonderful time in your garden and you don't get any bee stings like I did today. And I'll see you in the next one. Bye.